Modern cars are faster on paper, but some legends from decades ago would still destroy them where it actually matters. Not in a spreadsheet, not in a controlled test with every electronic aid active, but on a real road, with a real driver, where character, soul, and raw engineering still decide who wins. Because here's the uncomfortable truth the automotive industry doesn't want you to hear. We've gotten softer, cars have gotten numb, and while everyone's obsessed with the latest hybrid hypercar with 17 driving modes, there are machines built 30, 40, even 60 years ago that would still leave them shaking. If you love real cars, the kind that don't apologize, don't compromise, and don't need a software update to be great, subscribe now. This channel is for drivers who still believe machines should have a pulse. Let's start with the car that made muscle cars mythology. The 1967 Shelby GT500 doesn't just enter a room, it owns it. That long hood, that aggressive stance. This wasn't a car built for comfort or efficiency, it was built to intimidate. Carroll Shelby took Ford's Mustang and shoved a 428 cubic inch Police Interceptor V8 into it, the same engine cops used to chase down criminals at 140 miles per hour. The result? So unapologetically brutal that it became the face of American rebellion. This was the car Steve McQueen immortalized, the car that proved you didn't need European pedigree to be legendary. You just needed guts. And here's what separates it from every 2026 sports car: presence. Modern performance cars are fast, but they're silent, they're clinical. They feel like appliances. The GT500? It shakes. It makes you check your mirrors because people are staring. In 2026, you can buy a Mustang with 800 horsepower and drift mode, but it will never command respect, like a 67 GT500 rolling down the street. Some cars are fast, some cars are felt, but raw power is one thing. What if a car got so extreme it changed the rules of racing itself? 1969 Dodge Charger Daytona, the car that made NASCAR panic. Look at it, that absurd nose cone, that towering rear wing. It looks like someone strapped a fighter jet to a muscle car. And that's basically what happened. Dodge engineers were obsessed with one question: how do we break 200 miles per hour in NASCAR? The answer? Aerodynamics so aggressive, so radical, that the Charger Daytona became the first stock car in history to crack 200. It dominated so completely that NASCAR banned it the next season. Think about that. The governing body of American racing looked at this car and said, nope, too good, you're out. In 2026, you can buy production cars that hit 200 miles per hour, but they're refined, they're computerized. They have active aero that adjusts every millisecond. The Daytona? It had a fixed wing, a driver with steel nerves, and nothing else. And it still holds its place as one of the most extreme homologation specials ever built. But extreme aero is one thing. What if the car itself was never supposed to exist? The 1969 Chevrolet Camaro ZL1 was an accident. A glorious, terrifying accident. Chevrolet built an all-aluminum 427 big block for racing. To homologate it, they had to offer it in a production car, so they listed it as a dealer option on the Camaro. The catch? It cost more than the car itself. Chevy figured no one would be crazy enough to buy it. 69 people were, and what they got was a monster. This thing weighed 3,300 pounds and made 430 horsepower, but everyone knew the real number was closer to 500. It could run low 13-second quarter miles bone stock. In 1969, that was supercar territory. Today, but here's the magic. Because Chevy never advertised it, most people didn't even know it existed. It became a ghost, a legend whispered about in garages. And today, a ZL1 Camaro is one of the most valuable muscle cars on Earth. Some cars are built to dominate, others are built by mistake and become myths. Speaking of myths that became reality, the 1966 Ford GT40 is the car that ended arguments forever. Henry Ford wanted to buy Ferrari. Enzo Ferrari said no and insulted Ford in the process. So Ford did something insane. They built a race car for one reason only: to destroy Ferrari at Le Mans. They failed in 1964, failed in 1965, and then in 1966, they won. Not just won, annihilated. Ford GT40S took first, second, and third place. Ferrari didn't just lose, they were humiliated in front of the world, and the GT40 kept winning. 1967, 1968, 1969. 4 straight years. No modern manufacturer has that kind of dominance. But here's what makes the GT40 eternal. It wasn't just built to win, it was built perfectly. That low, wide, predatory stance. That roofline so low you climb in like a fighter pilot. In 2026, we have hypercars with 1,500 horsepower and hybrid systems, but none of them have the GT40's soul. None of them represent pure, unapologetic victory. None of them carry the weight of a grudge settled on the world's greatest stage. Some cars are advanced, some cars are fast, and some cars prove a point forever. But what if you didn't need drama? What if you just needed to be silent and deadly? 1987, Buick GNX, the assassin in a business suit. The muscle car era was dead, or so everyone thought. Then Buick, the brand your accountant drives, drops this all-black turbocharged beast. No flashy graphics, no bright colors, just sinister, murdered-out menace. And it ran 0 to 60 in 4.6 seconds. In 1987, that was faster than a Ferrari F40. Let that sink in. A Buick with a V6, beating the ultimate supercar of its era. And then it destroyed you. Only 547 were made. And to this day, there are 2,026 sports cars with twice the power, all-wheel drive, and every electronic aid imaginable that can't match the GNX's savage off-the-line punch. Why? Because the GNX didn't care about balance. It didn't care about refinement. It cared about winning. And it did. But if you think turbocharged terror is extreme, wait until you meet the car that came with a warning label. The 1992 Dodge Viper RT10 was designed to scare you. No roof, no windows, no airbags, no anti-lock brakes, no traction control, just an 8.0-liter V10. Dodge didn't build the Viper to be practical. They built it to prove America could still build a raw, unfiltered, terrifying supercar. And they succeeded. The Viper came with warnings. It slid in the rain. It overheated in traffic. It cooked its own side sills. And people loved it because it didn't apologize. It didn't hold your hand. It said, if you can't handle me, buy a Miata. In 2026, modern performance cars have 1,000+ horsepower and systems that won't let you crash even if you try. The original Viper, it encouraged you to crash if you weren't good enough. And that's why it's legendary. Some cars protect you. Some cars test you. But what if you wanted protection and devastation? The 1970 Plymouth Hemi Cuda is the car that makes grown men cry. Why? Because it represents everything modern cars are too afraid to be. No turbo, no hybrid system, no eco mode, just 426 cubic inches of cast iron rage. The Hemi Cuda didn't care about fuel economy. It didn't care about emissions. It cared about one question: how much power can we cram into a two-door coupe before someone stops us? And the answer was, a lot. In 2026, you can buy cars with more horsepower, but none of them feel like this. None of them shake the ground when they idle. None of them make pedestrians step back in fear. The Hemi Cuda is automotive violence wrapped in sheet metal, and we'll never see anything like it again, because modern engineers aren't allowed to build without fear. But what if, instead of brute force, you built something timeless? The 1963 Corvette Stingray with the split rear window is the most beautiful American car ever made. Not the fastest, not the most powerful, but the most perfect. That split window? Chevy only made it for 1 year. Engineers hated it, said it blocked visibility. Designer Bill Mitchell fought for it, and he won. Today, that window is the most iconic design detail in Corvette history, because it wasn't about function, it was about art. And here's the thing. In 2026, you can buy a Corvette with 1,000 horsepower, mid-engine layout, and every tech feature imaginable, but it will never turn heads like a 63 split window. Because some cars are fast, some cars are advanced, and some cars are simply beautiful. But beauty is subjective. Engineering perfection? That's undeniable. The 1984 Ferrari 288 GTO was built for a racing series that never happened. Ferrari planned to dominate Group B rallying. They engineered the 288 GTO, twin turbocharged, 400 horsepower, mid-engine fury wrapped in Pininfarina elegance. Then the series got cancelled, so Ferrari shrugged and sold them anyway. Only 272 were made, and every single one is worth millions today. Why? Because it's the last Ferrari built before computers took over. No ABS, no traction control, no stability nannies. In 2026, you can buy Ferraris with 1,000 horsepower and systems that prevent you from crashing. The 288 GTO let you crash. It demanded you be good enough, and that's why it's worshipped. Some cars are safe, some cars are honest, but what if you combined honesty with perfection? The 1991 Acura NSX, the car that terrified Ferrari. Honda didn't build the NSX to beat supercars with horsepower. They built it to humiliate them with precision. All aluminum body, mid-engine layout, VTEC naturally aspirated V6 tuned by Ayrton Senna, the greatest F1 driver of all time. The result? A car that could keep up with Ferraris on track and drive like a Civic in traffic. No drama, no breakdowns, no tantrums. It was the first supercar you could actually use. And here's the uncomfortable truth. In 2026, supercars have caught up in reliability, but they've lost the NSX's soul. They're faster, sure, but they feel managed. Every input filtered, every reaction calculated. The NSX feels alive. The steering talks to you. And it makes most 2026 sports cars feel like video games. Because the NSX proves something modern engineers forgot. Being the best doesn't mean being the loudest. It means being right. So here's the truth nobody wants to say out loud. These 10 cars aren't relics. They're not nostalgia porn for old guys who can't let go of the past. They're evidence, proof that somewhere along the way, the automotive industry lost the plot. We got obsessed with numbers, 0 to 60 times, Nürburgring lap records, horsepower figures that sound impressive in a press release but mean nothing on a back road at sunrise. We built cars that can do everything, and in doing so, we built cars that feel like nothing. Every 2026 launch comes with the same script. Most powerful ever, most advanced ever, most connected ever. But nobody talks about the one thing that actually matters. Does it make you feel alive? Because that's what these 10 legends do. They don't just transport you, they transform you. They make your heart race before you even turn the key. They demand respect, they reward skill, they punish arrogance, and they never ever let you forget you're driving a machine built by people who cared more about greatness than market research. The GT40 wasn't designed by a committee. It was designed by engineers with a grudge and unlimited budget to settle it. The Viper wasn't approved by focus groups. It was approved by lunatics who thought warning, car may injure driver, was an acceptable marketing strategy. The NSX wasn't built to appease shareholders. It was built because Honda's engineers wanted to embarrass Ferrari, and they did. These cars have something modern cars will never have: purpose. They were built to prove something, to win something, to be something. Not to sell as many units as possible, not to hit a price point, not to pass ever-changing regulations. They were built because someone said, this is what a car should be, and damn the consequences. And here's what kills me. We know how to build cars like this. The technology exists, the talent exists, but the will doesn't. Because modern automotive engineering isn't about pushing boundaries anymore. It's about managing risk. It's about software updates and subscription services, and making sure nobody ever gets hurt or offended or challenged. And that's fine for transportation, but it's death for driving. Because driving, real driving, isn't supposed to be safe. It's not supposed to be easy. It's supposed to be a conversation between you and a machine, where both of you have to be good enough to make it work. It's supposed to scare you a little, test you a little, make you better. These 10 cars understand that. Every modern driver's car with launch control and drift mode and track telemetry has forgotten it. So no, these aren't museum pieces. They're reminders. Reminders that cars used to be built by people who believed in something bigger than quarterly earnings. People who understood that the greatest machines aren't the ones that do everything for you. They're the ones that demand everything from you. And until the industry remembers that, these legends will keep winning, not on a spec sheet, but where it actually counts. Like in our hearts, in our memories, and on every road that still rewards bravery over bandwidth. If you believe cars should be driven, not supervised by software, like, subscribe, and tell us in the comments, which of these 10 would you take over any 2026 launch? And more importantly, What would you be willing to give up in a modern car to get that feeling back? Because that's the real question. And I think we all know the answer.